So lead generation is the fuel of your business, which is true. You could be the world's greatest agent, write the world's greatest contract. You could wear the best suit. You could be amazing at video editing. You could be the best at showing homes. But if you don't have people to serve, you're just simply not in business. And really, what we are is 80% of our activity is appointment setting. We're doing activities to have conversations, to meet people, to be in business. And without that, we're really just hoping by pure luck that somebody's going to come across our doorstep and will want to be served. And the great thing about real estate is it is a completely intentional process. You can absolutely control your outcome. The day that you decide and understand that really your results are determined by you and not so much outside influences, right? Then things change. Then at that point, you can be limitless in real estate. And like we all run into speed bumps, right? You name a speed bump, it's going to happen. Yep, the closing is going to be delayed. We were supposed to meet somebody and they stood us up. And, the person that, oh, man, I knew this person was ready to buy a house. They're so motivated, but they weren't qualified. Sure, that happens to every agent. Doesn't matter if you're new or you've been doing this 10 years. There are going to be failures. There's going to be people who ghost you. There are going to be people who fire you. I mean, you name it. But everything else is controllable. So every one person that fired you, one person that wasn't qualified, one person that didn't show up, or one person that wasted your time, what stops you from getting 10 other people who can buy or sell and transact? What stops you from that? And it's just simply your activity. Is it focused? Is it consistent? So we did being a professional agent, and there is a recording for that. This is Lead Generation Fuels Your Business. We will grow to the transaction process and then also making offers in what we do. Just recounting a little bit from being a professional, never letting go of your why and purpose of doing this. A purposeful mindset will help you grow. It'll help you attain trainings like this. It'll help you implement. And then it'll also help you handle when certain things don't go exactly according to plan. The rewards of real estate, they are true. They can have a great impact on your life. Helps you become a business owner, the fulfillment of helping others, the personal empowerment of who and what you wanted to become. The independence is there through the consistency. And then sure, income, you see others making hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can actually do that as well. But a lot of it comes down to your action. So we talked about being engaged, active, productive. There is a predictable process as a real estate agent of how you can create business. Being engaged, having goals, those who have some sort of targets, yes, yearly, but it's segmented down to monthly, weekly, daily activity. I want to close 2 deals this month. That's great. Well, how many people will I need to sit down with and have an appointment? Okay, if I need 4 appointments in order to have those 2 deals, what sort of daily action do I need to do in order to make sure I have these 4 appointments? And that's where lead generation comes in. So always aim higher on your goals. If you want to have 1 closed transaction, aim for 2. You want to have 2 transactions, aim for 3, right? Always add more. If you want to have 2 appointments, make sure that you have 4 appointments. Increase your goal so that if you miss it, that you still get what you really need. And who knows, maybe you obtain that goal and then you're right on track with things, right? What would you do each day? I hear this so often. What should I do? I want to get started. I want to get back on track. What do I do? Well, what I say is come back home, right? Come back home to what real estate is all about, other than the integrity of representing people. Each day, it's lead generation. Lead generation, follow up, and ask for referrals to create appointments. If you feel like you don't have enough, you need to create more appointments and create more opportunities. And what do? You go right back to lead generate, follow up, ask for referrals. That is the ultimate reset. That's the ultimate blueprint of what you do each day. So staying engaged, you want to go to as many trainings as possible so you can get stronger at lead generation. If you understand the contract, you're going to be more confident in your conversations with clients. getting familiar with the MLS systems, that's certainly going to help you serve these clients when you have these opportunities. And then you want to constantly research ways to improve your sales skills. We're not selling or manipulating people, but we do have to have the right sales skills on marketing, prospecting, conversations, and follow up so that we can have client opportunities. So be aware of the training calendar events, keep up with emails, chat, and post, and be a part of and contribute to the culture. If you're only engaged in real estate once every couple of weeks, well, guess what your outcome is going to be? It's going to be pretty sporadic and kind of here and there. But if real estate is that important to you, if the empowerment of what it can do is that important to you, then you have to show up in your business on a regular business or on a regular basis. So there's certain things that you can do, right? And what we can do to make sure we're showing up often enough is have a schedule and a routine. Even if you're a full or part-timer, having that schedule and that routine is super important. And I would suggest not having it just top of mind. I would actually have it in a calendar or written down or something that's visual. I use a Google Calendar because it reminds me all the time of what I should be doing. I block out in advance important things that I need to work on that are pretty vital to the business. And that's what's going to help you develop good habits of consistency. So as we're trying to work in dollar productive activity of lead generation, follow up, and asking for referrals, well, what does that really mean? We're marketing and prospecting for business. We want to manage and start to build a database incrementally over time. Those who have databases of 3, 4, 500 people, they started with one person, right? Setting new appointments. So we have to constantly have new appointments. Now, the difference, if I'm meeting somebody for the fourth time to go on showings, that's great to have an appointment. I'm talking about new appointments. Who is new and next? And then staying up to date with your leads, because if you don't stay in touch with them through follow up, they will find other resources that will be responsive for them. So let's talk about schedule and routine. And this is one of the hardest things for agents to overcome. And that's why I can't say it enough, is even if you are just okay at all the activity, if you show up more often, you're going to get business, because most agents have a hard time just showing up. 80% of the industry has a hard time showing up. So if you show up, you've just beaten 80% of the industry. Now that means you don't need to go miles, just mere inches more in order to start getting more business than 80% of the industry. So what does a top producer schedule look like? Lead generation each day. And most of them do it in the morning. It's one of the first things that they do, about 2 hours each day. Some do more, some do 3 or 4. If they feel like their business is behind, they'll spend more time on it. But if you did 2 hours, you deposited 2 hours per day in the bank, you're going to start to get a good amount of business. Doesn't happen right away. There will be days when you do 2 hours and you have zero outcome, but you got to stick with it because the opportunities will come. Now, why the morning? It's a more controllable part of the day, because in the afternoon, here comes the world chasing after you. Middle of the day, suggestion is to knock out your admin trainings, networking, middle of the day. Appointments scheduled for the afternoon. That's more likely when clients are available, especially on weekdays. If you don't have any appointments, set a block where you can follow up with someone that you're engaging with. And then weekends are for appointments and open houses. So it doesn't have to be a schedule in which every minute of your life is scheduled. Nobody can do that. I mean, maybe 1% of the population can be that meticulous on things, right? But if you have a block for lead generation, a block for admin or training and growing, a block for appointments, that is enough of a structure to make something happen. And weekends are golden opportunities. Well, what if you are a part-timer? I started off as a dual career agent, right? So I'm working another full-time job and full-time in real estate at the same time. And I would say that you can work it in, but you, even more than the full-timer, are going to have something where you have some structure to what you do. Because yes, when work is done, family calls and other matters are important. And so if you have your time for real estate that you've hard scheduled in somewhere, you're going to be able to do it. and find the time for you. I suggest at least 3 days a week, try 1 hour where you are active with people, whether it's calling, texting, emailing, DMing, meeting in person, what have you. 3 hours of actual interpersonal communication somehow. If the morning's easier for you, okay, fine, go for it, right? Um, and don't be afraid to engage with people after 5 o'clock too, because a lot of times you won't get a hold of people until after 5 o'clock, right? They may be working their jobs. They may be like a medical professional where they can't answer the phone all the time, or there are some people who work at the shipyard where they cannot be on the phone all day, right? It's like absolutely banned to do so. So sometimes after 5, that's a great time to get a hold of somebody. Admin later in the evening or early in the morning. There were times when I was writing contracts for investors at 10 o'clock at night, when I was dual career, because that was the time I could do it. Using downtime for passive lead generation, meaning if people, maybe it's not a great time to call them, right, or to engage with them because it happens to be 6:30 in the morning or 9 o'clock at night or something like that. That's when you can do some of the passive things like CMAs, where you are maybe doing CMAs for a neighborhood or just for of influence. That's where you could send your email, schedule them out, uh, social post, or even pop buys. Yeah, you can do a pop by at 7 o'clock in the morning, drop it off at their door and run away, right? And those weekends are high value opportunities for you where you have open houses and appointments. Now, if your Monday through Friday is so jammed up, weekends are your time. That's your time to meet. That's when I would do open houses. I think that's going to be vital to your business. How do we meet clients? We're talking about lead generation, client opportunities. Well, I'm going to share a few. And the great thing about real estate is there's lots of different things you can do. Choose the ones at first that are most comfortable for you. There are hundreds of ways to build business, but you don't want to do hundreds of things. You want to focus on the 2 or 3 things that feel comfortable for you now, incorporate 1 or 2 more areas where you are growing to know more about that particular method. There could be a team lead system, which we do have, that brings motivated buyers and sellers. Connecting with your sphere of influence is going to be vital, whether you're receiving leads or not. And everybody has a sphere of influence. Open houses and neighborhood activity are one of the best ways to create business, especially in the beginning, or if you want to expand, building investor relationships because they are always buying, building a referral business, which is generally word of mouth. So your spouse may even be able to help you out with that. And then prospecting various sellers and buyers. There's a number of things, whether they're absentee owners or expireds or something we'll chat about. Marketing activities, including social media. There are a billion people on social media. You may not like social media, but they do, which means if it's a marketing platform, that may be something that you want to grow more comfortable with. Remember, I said, hey, there's 2 to 3 things you're going to feel comfortable with and work on those right away. Grow to love 1 or 2 more things. Social media, there's some people who they love it, and that's their first go-to. Great. That may be the 4th or 5th thing on your list, but social media has got to be on your list. I don't know how an agent is going to keep up in today's industry without having a consistent social media process. And then events and seminars. Now, events and seminars don't meet other agents, right? The agent networking is not going to bring you business. But if you are attending real estate related or other related events and seminars, that's where you can certainly control your base or build your base. So real estate is the math formula, as always mentioned. There is a certain fundamental truth, right? That if you are consistent and you have enough contacts, you're going to get contracts. Now, the cliche is that it's a contact sport, right? And that's been said for decades. And that's true. You can't get 20 real estate transactions out of just talking to 5 people. That just doesn't happen, right? How do you feed a family of six if you only have one slice of pizza, right? You're going to need a large to extra large pizza. Like in my house, we'll probably need two pizzas, right? So you simply just have to have enough consistent activity, enough conversations to produce the outcome that you want. So if you have too few contacts, that's just not enough of a threshold for success. If you have a high rate of contacts, it's going to increase your chances statistically. It seems pretty simple, but there are too many who just shoot for too few contacts. So the number one task is lead generation and then 2 hours per day, as we mentioned. Let's talk about a little bit more about, okay, the how. All right. So I get it. I get it, man. I need to lead generate every 2 hours every day. But what? What should I be doing? I would say the number one type is referrals. It's the majority of the business. About 70% of the business is either some sort of repeat referral based business. Basically, someone says, I know, like, and trust you. Can you please help me? Or that person like, and trust passed your name on to someone saying, hey, you want to sell your house? You should talk to Sarah. She knows what she's doing and she's in real estate, and I think she'll help you out. So you're educating your sphere of influence base to pass your name on to other people. That should help you get over the limiting belief that you don't have a sphere of influence or it's too small. The number one thing I hear, I don't really have a sphere of influence. They only know me as being a nurse or a firefighter or an accountant or whatever, right? And now I have to build credibility of being a real estate agent. But what they're thinking is not so much if you are a real estate expert. The number one thing that they want is trust. They want somebody they can trust, who has their back. And one thing you need to think about as well is that if you have a limiting belief that the people like, and trust aren't really going to buy or sell because they never move, they're going to be in their house forever, they're renters, their credit isn't any good. Well, maybe you can help them discover home ownership. Maybe they just need some help. But if you educate them with your brand awareness, they're going to pass your name on. So 1 out of 10 in your sphere of influence can bring you a lead. Not every lead turns into closed business, right? So you want to make sure that you have enough leads in order to create the amount of business that you want. So if you're engaging with your sphere of influence enough times, it's going to equal a certain amount of leads. And then of those leads, maybe 50% to three-quarters of them turns into business, sometimes even higher than that. So these leads are created by connections in person or over the phone, and you're really just building a word of mouth about who you are and what you do. So all your marketing activity, some of which we'll chat about, is creating brand awareness. Now, a lot of us came from different walks of life before real estate. Some might have been connected to somebody in real estate. So marketing brand awareness is kind of a new thing, right? It's like, I'm kind of humble. I don't like to talk about myself. I don't really like to post on social media about certain things. And, there are ways that you can tactfully and tastefully share what you do, um, and not come across with that sort of guilt-ridden, salesy feeling that we feel on things, right? But there are ways that you can be of value. So the number one connection conversation is known as the Ford script, the simplest. This is from How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's just a simple framework on building rapport. And the more that you are interested in someone, the more they're going to find you interesting. People enjoy speaking about themselves. So it's family, occupation, recreation, dreams, some of the topics that help with small talk, right? So diving down into a little bit of a script here, well, what the heck would this sound like? All right. So it doesn't matter if you are on the phone with somebody. Heck, it could even be it could be a text conversation. It could be a DM. It could be in person, right? And it doesn't matter where you're connecting with people, but these are people that either one, they could be new relationships and you're trying to build rapport, or you're trying to connect with people that you already know. And in a way, you're kind of catching up, and real estate seems to kind of slip in there a little bit, right? So if we look at some of these, hey Brenda, hey, it's good to catch up with you. I always love staying in touch with some of my friends. I saw social media. You guys just came back from vacation. That looks crazy. How was it in Dubai? Oh, it was amazing. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, well, I don't know if we're going to go on vacation anytime soon. I just saw that a lot of my coworkers at the real estate office just went to Costa Rica and just went on like 7 zip lines and we're on a boat having a good time. So that's something that they have at the real estate office. And now I've set that as a goal this year that if I could help 10 families, I might be able to go on this trip. So if you know of anybody who wants to buy or sell, let me know because I need a vacation. Ha ha ha. Right. So, I mean, that's a simple example, right? But you're being interested in them. If we look at some of these questions, right? Family, hey, how's the family doing? What's going on? Or you may already know what's going on with social media, so you can expand on that. Hey, I saw that you fill in the blank. Occupation, how's work going? They may work in a different industry. How are things going? Like I know somebody who's in beer distribution, good friend to have. So what's going on in the beer industry? Beer sales are down. Why? Oh, it's too expensive. Yeah, I get it. And then at that point, I'm throwing into the conversation. Yeah, well, real estate, we've had our challenges too. But for sellers, home prices are holding. We're hoping interest rates get better for buyers this year, right? So if you are asking them about their occupation, it opens the door for you to throw something in there. It's what's called planting seeds. The more seeds we plant, the more that we're spreading our brand awareness, the more we're reminding people what we do. They aren't paying attention to you as much as you believe they are, right? When you post something on social, now 100% of your connections see it. There's a certain percentage, usually a pretty small percentage, that see what you do unless it starts getting more engagement and then it really starts to build in social media, right? So don't assume they know what you're doing. You have to fill them in. We kind of went over recreation, but what about dreams? So I know you talked about paying off your house, and now you have 5 bedrooms, and you have the last kid getting ready to go off to college. Are you going to stay here? Oh, we're thinking about downsizing, but I don't know if I want another monthly payment. I just may hang on to it. Hey, well, I get it. We do have some that don't want to sell. Sometimes what they'll do is just use some of that equity to maybe build up a rental portfolio, so maybe you could add some passive income, right? So you're finding ways to connect with them in order to open the door and plant seeds in real estate. And these conversations are everywhere all the time. So some other connections for referral. We're still on referral-based lead generation. Remember, this is 70% of the business, not that the other 30% are good, viable options, but this is the one that builds that longevity as a real estate agent, that repeat referral business where the business starts to feed itself. There are other things that you can learn to do. Some are doing a monthly or quarterly mailer on what? Your success stories, what's going on in the market, opportunities in real estate. A monthly email is an easy thing to do. There are several platforms, including a CRM, a client relationship management system we have known as Bold Trail, where you can send out automated messages such as market reports that lets them know about the value of their neighborhood, property alerts, or some other points of value. Video is certainly growing. The more that you're willing to do video, the better your outcome is going to be as far as marketing. And then note cards, I'm going to share an example of that. That's what I call the secret weapon of real estate agents. A set number of pop buys. We'll get into pop buys here in just a little bit because I think it's an easy thing to do, especially if it's holiday driven. A certain number of calls or coffee meetings per month. How many people are you meeting in person and reconnecting with, right? People love to get out of the house. So if other people are having small get togethers, it's time to get more social and get out there. Or can you initiate these get togethers, whether they're birthday parties, anniversary parties, backyard cookouts, I mean, you name it. Joining community groups is a good way to start to build your sphere of influence, whether it's church or you're helping out the American Red Cross or helping out some sort of local community initiative. And then social media marketing. I know I say it's the easiest, and I know for some, man, it's a challenge, but I believe it's one of those things that you start to build momentum on. As soon as you start posting on a regular basis, have goals each week. Hey, this week I'm going to get out 3 posts. One is going to be value of what's happening in the market. One's going to be like a day in a life, like, hey, I showed this amazing house. And the other will be something like a home list, a list of new construction homes, a list of open houses this week. And there are ways that we can coach you to do those sort of posts and post specific homes or a list of homes for lead generation. So here's an example of a pop by, right? A pop by, again, is another one of those secret weapons of real estate agents, whether it's their sphere of influence, ongoing clients, or past clients. You're basically putting something together that could either be clever, holiday driven, that is a humorous or nice way of asking for a referral. Some do get kind of clever with it. I'm never too busy for more of your referrals with a little s'mores kit. Now, if you just Google pop by ideas, you're going to get a million of them. And there are agents where this is their number one way of lead generation, believe it or not. They're picking about 20 people per month, and 20 deliveries in one day is pretty tough. But if you're delivering 5 per week over 4 weeks of time, now you just connected with 20 people. And if you did that monthly, think of how many connections you would have. Now, let's say if I dropped off a pop by to Mario in January. Well, I'm probably going to give Mario a break in February and March, and maybe come back in April, right, and do something quarterly, or maybe even give him a break all the way until about June, and maybe do it like once every 6 months. So you're not doing this every day, every monthly. Monthly is a little creepy, right? So you want to have some sort of cadence to it, whether it's quarterly or semi yearly, where you're dropping these off. Another example here, if maybe you didn't want to be gimmicky, but maybe you wanted to have something tasteful. This is a really nice one where there are some wildflower seeds, right? Plant happiness. Thank you for helping me grow my business. For all your real estate needs, call Jennifer at 123456. This is something that's probably sold on Etsy, right? If you can't make these yourself, there are plenty of places where you can buy some of the materials. We did a pop by one year, and I might bring it back. It was St. Patrick's Day, and we just had some dollar scratch off tickets on it, and some of those gold coin chocolates, and I think we had something else in there too. And I think each one probably cost us less than $2 to put together. So there are a lot of great ideas, and they're not very costly to do. The great thing about this is you don't have to be a real estate expert, right? So if you're still learning the contracts and transaction process and the scripts, and you're trying to get good, well, this is kind of a stealthy way that you can drop off either Popeyes in your neighborhood or to your sphere of influence to build business. And the great thing about it is you can fine tune this according to your client or your sphere of influence base, right? Believe me, we actually did Super Bowl drop offs where we were dropping off 6 packs of beer, right? So you can adjust this to your clientele however you want. But we talked about simple things you can do before you're a real estate expert. This is certainly one thing you can do. The other is note cards. Now, an example of a note card here would just put just a note, something kind of basic. I know that there are some agents who will go all out and they won't send a note card because they need to order some amazing note card with their picture on it and their logo. Don't overdo it. It's not supposed to be splashy and salesy. It's not supposed to be commercial. It's supposed to be from the heart. Okay. So, many of us have gotten a birthday card, that was handwritten and it looks different in the mail stack, right? We all ripped it open to see if there was a check inside. Yes, right? So it's the same sort of emotional reaction when somebody gets something that is handwritten and addressed to them because nobody does it, right? Here's a simple example of whether it's past clients, referral partners, anyone in your network. I Hi, Gabriella. I just wanted to take a moment to say how much I appreciate you. Working with great people like you makes it so rewarding. If you ever need anything real estate related or not, please don't hesitate to reach out. Wishing you all the best. Gratefully, Troy. Right. Um, so there are all occasions, whether it was you just met somebody at a networking event, it's a new buyer client. You went on a listing appointment, they weren't quite ready to say yes, but then you can fire off a note, right? There's a lot of different things that you can do. Um, and the messages are short. Um, and what I would suggest is, blue ink. Don't send the note cards out to just, complete random, people. These are people you've had some sort of connection with. I always hear, how do you get their address? Well, if it's somebody in the neighborhood, all the addresses are on tax records that we have access to. The other thing to do is just ask. Hey, I'm updating my contacts, adding you to my phone. It was good to meet you. I have your phone number. What is your address so I can add that? And most people are just going to follow through on that. So on social media, now I could give 10,000 examples of great social media posts, but the one I wanted to just focus on is the "Hi, I'm in real estate" post, or reminding people that you're in real estate. Uh, Gary Vaynerchuk has a great book, which is Jab, 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 Hook. I'm going to save you 300 pages on that, right? The premise is when you jab, you are giving a point of value. And when you hook, right, like a punch, you're giving them the hard sell, right? If you're constantly hitting people with a hard sell, the message is going to become fatiguing. But if you are jabbing with value and good content, and it doesn't matter if it's heartfelt, funny, interesting, day in a life, helping other people, there's a number of things that you can post that has value. A list of homes, as I mentioned. And then the jab, the hard sell is, I want to help you or someone you know. So Sarah here posted that, "Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I'm an agent in coastal North Carolina. I cover the following areas." Here's her hard sell. She's saying, okay, I service all these areas. I'm coming right at you and letting you know I'm looking forward to collaborating on referrals with all of you. Feel free to reach me anytime. So if Sarah posted this every day, then we'd really start to tune out, right? But if Sarah mixed this up with real estate value, what's going on in the market, how she helps somebody, a review, a success story, a new home that just hit the market. Hey, here's the top 5 things buyers should do. Oh, by the way, just had a consultation with a first time buyer. We were able to increase their credit at 25 points in 2 weeks. So if you felt credit was holding you back from buying a home, I want to help you out. There's a million stories you can tell that have value. And then after a handful of those value oriented, boom, you hit them with a hard sell and say, here's what I can do. If you are newer to real estate and you have not done this yet, and some of you have, and I've seen the post and they look great. Christina, I saw a post that she did. She put it on as a story, looked fantastic, went, got a pro picture done, right? Doing it right. Saying, this is who I am. I got my professional photo and I'm brave enough to put this on social, post it on the story. Here we go. And you really have to cut through the noise to let people know that you're there. So the reason why I spent a little extra time on some of these referral activities, such as Popeyes, social media, right? No cards, because they are passive. As we're growing stronger with our in-person communication, picking up the phone, calling people, there's a little bit of a learning curve and comfort to that, right? These are all passive. that you can do as you grow a little bit more stronger in your confidence of having in-person conversations. But with social media, be authentic, right? Sharing your testimonials, create video content with your clients. There's a lot of things that you could do video wise that, and really video is the it's really it's the pinnacle of marketing right now. Absolutely. Um, Resharing your direct messages or emails or texts from happy clients. Of course, you can always redact their identity or having their permission. Reposting impactful content from other real estate pros that you work with, like title officers, brokers, inspectors. You've heard something interesting, you know, from them, and you want to share that with others. It shows that you're a busy professional and that you're in a business. And then how can you get better at social media? Watch what other agents are doing. I would say look for the tasteful way that they do things. Careful of those who are grandstanders, right? Those who are perhaps sharing in a way that's going to turn their marketing base off. I wouldn't say emulate that, but there are a ton of either fun, interesting, or tactful ways that they are sharing information. So again, spent time on Popeyes and note cards and social media. It is good passive things that you could start right away. Now we get cold with it. All right. That's the warm side of the business. Now we just turn down the temperature a little bit and we're on the prospecting. Now, the great thing about prospecting, conversely from, let's say, referral based marketing, marketing is getting your message out there consistently. Like you may drop off 3 Popeyes, send a note card, post every day on social, and you're still waiting for a client to pop up, right? And that's because they have to be educated that you're a real estate agent, and there has to be an opportunity in their timeline, in their life when, oh, I need an agent. Oh, well, I remember, Susan dropped off a Popeye and sent me an email the other day. Let me call her. It sounds like she knows what she's doing. Prospecting, the great thing about prospecting, it is ways to be direct and control the action and control results. If I want 2 appointments this week, I'm going to be able to call, knock, do open houses, do direct activity to create an opportunity to get those appointments that I want. There's a number of ways. Expireds, you might have heard of that. Those are basically people who were listed on the market and then the listing simply expired. Listings have a start and an end date. Sometimes they withdraw and they take them off the market early. Those are fair game to communicate with to try to earn that business. Most expireds will list again, unless there was something in their life that completely changed. FSBOs, otherwise known as for sale by owners, those are people that feel like they don't need a listing agent and they're so awesome at selling houses that they're going to do it themselves. And a lot of those contracts fail. A lot of the house is overpriced and they end up failing a lot of times because there is no buffer in between the buying and selling parties to keep it together. But they have risen their hand and say, I want to sell. And we have cleared up the mystery. And I'll get into that a little bit more. Circle prospecting, and it's literally one by one calling everybody in the neighborhood. There are sources in which you can get the phone numbers, and you're just dialing everybody, hoping somebody on the other end wants to pick up the phone and say, yes, I want to sell. It is actually a good prospecting activity, especially if you wanted to grow a relationship with a particular neighborhood. Calling older existing leads. So we have a number of buyers. They're kept in things like ponds or buckets or nurtures or follow-up leads. They all have different labels, but they're all the same thing. There were people that reached out to us in some sort of capacity because they wanted to buy or sell, but it wasn't the right time. So you could go and dive into these ponds and have conversations to see if you can find somebody who just is one conversation away from being more motivated to do something. I'll give you an example. I'll even follow up with leads. Looking through leads, I see that there was somebody that had a house to sell in Norfolk and wanted to buy, but just didn't seem the right time. Couldn't find anything in the targeted neighborhood that they wanted to be in. I called them. I said, hey, we spoke to you a few months ago, and looks like you're interested in buying, getting together with your, fiance into one house, and you know, wanted to see where you are on that. Yeah, we kind of put it on hold because I'm fixing up some things around the house, working on the bathroom. This is a true story. And um, when I get that done, I want to put my house on the market and buy something, but we want to be in one particular neighborhood and there hasn't been much there. Hey, that's great to know. Will it be okay if I check in with you a little bit down the road? I'm going to keep my eye on that neighborhood. Would that be okay? Yeah, sure. Okay, great. Well, better believe I found a house in that neighborhood about 20 minutes later. Emailed it to him, sent him a text, said, hey, by the way, this remodeled home is listed in that neighborhood you're talking about. Would you like to go look at it this weekend? And we went, right? Got them pre-approved. They ended up buying some of their house. Most often, they need to look at a few houses before they're comfortable get the right one, uh, and ended up getting a listing out of it too. So none of that would have happened unless I picked up the phone. None of that would have happened if I didn't go into older leads and believe that if I speak to enough people, that opportunity can be created. If I had a limiting belief that ah, they're going to be rude, they're going to hang up, they're not interested, then I would have never gotten two sales off of that. So I would highly suggest learning to love the follow up with people and people who have already reached out, like some of these existing older leads. When I say older leads, they're not like 5 years old, not like 10 years ago. We're talking about 6, 8, 12 months ago, 2 years ago. And that is still within the relevant time that people want to buy or sell. Targeted mailing, a big believer in that as well. There are absentee owners. There are people who have a lot of equity in their home that may want to downsize. So there are ways that you can target a specific segment and mail them in order to create listing opportunities. Open houses, I think, are absolutely vital. I don't care if you've done this 5 minutes or 5 years. Open houses are a golden opportunity to not only get business, buyer and seller leads, but control your price point. So you could hold an open house at something that's 350 or 450 that is generally in the median house price in Hampa roads and find good connections. But you could hold up in something that is 657 or 8 and increase your price point. So if I'm a new agent, I have no business. I may even be working another job and I'm building my business and I need more people in my pipeline. I would highly suggest holding 2 open houses every weekend until you have somebody under contract. Someone else did the hard work of creating that listing, getting it on the market, and choosing the right house, having the right plan, having the right amount of signs that you can use with us, right? Having the right conversations. You're going to have enough people walking in the door where some of them will never buy, some down the road, and you're building your pipeline and follow up. And you're going to be people who are, yeah, I'm interested right now, and it turns into contracts. So again, if I want to build my business, I start doing open houses every weekend. And I start treating maybe Tuesday like a Saturday. And, Saturday or a Sunday or a Friday afternoon, whatever it is, make the 3 hours of investment of time in order to build your business. But moving forward. So for sale by owner, we kind of chatted about that, a little bit more about it. Where can I find these things? There are paid sources like Vulcan, RedX, LandVoice. These are services that you pay and they provide you with the information, phone numbers. A lot of for sale by owners are public, right on Zillow. And you'll even be able to see that they're either new and you can have a conversation with them, or they might have been on Zillow for like 90 days. And now they're probably more open to a conversation. Driving around, you're going to see yard signs. There are some people that for sale by owners, their number one way that they advertise is just sticking the sign in the yard. And those are wide open opportunities. What would I suggest? Previewing the house. And I'll get to that in just a second. But what are for sale by owners thinking? Why did they not use an agent? Well, a lot of them are just focused on bottom line. They feel like paying you would cut into their bottom line net proceeds and that you're not worth it, right? They want to control the situation. And the truth is, most for sale by owners will eventually list with an agent. About 30 days is the time when they'll list with an agent. Why? It's a natural time frame. Hey, I might list it, but I wanted to give it a shot. I'm going to give it about a month, right? No one ever says, I'm going to give it 23 days. No, they always say, I'm going to give it about a month. Those that they hear from the most and provided value in those 30 days gets the listing. And most people will call the for sale by owner one time and give up. If they couldn't get it right then and there, they don't follow up. A lot of them go into contract. And guess what? 50% of the FSBO contracts fail the first time, according to the National Association of Realtors. Why? Because there was no one there to keep the situation under control, too much emotion, bad negotiation, you name it. After they do an inspection, they couldn't work that out and they fail. So, how can you list these homes? Well, you want to sound a little different than the last 25 agents I called because a lot of them are using the same sort of script that they just simply Googled. And they're won by persistent calling and communicating differently. So I would not try to win a for sale by owner over the phone. I would simply call and say, hey, Tanya, see that you have your home on the market. I totally respect the fact that you wanted to try this selling on your own without an agent. And I hope that works out for you. And, I work with a lot of buyers here with our real estate firm. And I'd love to preview the home so that I could be a bit more educated about this to see if I have a buyer for you. Well, I had the pictures on Zillow. Can you just look at those? I could, but I'm sure that there's a lot more to your house than just what's pictured. Pictures don't always tell the whole story. As a matter of fact, while I'm there, if there's anything I see that could have been marketed better, I'd love to help you out with that. Can I stop by this Saturday at 10 for about 15 minutes? Sure. And then show up and say, great. So why are you moving? When do you want to be there? Anyone helping you buy where you want to go? Oh, you're moving to Texas for your job. Do you need to be connected with a good agent there? I have a great, vast network. I'm trying to get referral business. So let me ask you, is there a reason why you didn't use an agent? Well, we want to make as much money as we can for this house, and homes sell real fast in this neighborhood. Hey, that's great. I hope yours does as well. So let's say if it doesn't sell in, let's say about a month, are you going to choose to list with an agent then? Yeah, maybe. Awesome. I'd love to help you out. Well, look, if you get a contract before then, feel free to give me a call. I might be able to have a few tips for you just so you don't get caught into a bad transaction. Would it be okay if I share this with some buyers and follow up with you down the road to see if you wanted to list on the market? Yes, that's fine. Great. I just happen to have a flyer of my 10-point marketing plan. Here you go. And if you do that enough times, you are going to get business. And if you practice and role play that, you're going to get more successful conversations. So, working on door knocking. So, door knocking is something that can create fear and discomfort, but any sort of um, any sort of activity that's prospecting based or communicating with people, it's all about momentum. The toughest conversations are going to be the first 3 to 5. Then after that, you're going to say, okay, I did 3 to 5. I survived. Now let me keep going. And you're going to start to build momentum. And you know what you're going to find out? You're going to find out that people are a lot friendlier than you believe they would be. And anyways, you'll want to work with friendly people anyways. So if they're not friendly, guess what? They just weeded themselves out and you just saved yourself a lot of time. But door knocking is an older form of prospecting with real estate, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it is not useful. It's still highly useful, highly productive, and a way to really build your relationship with the neighborhood. It still works. And it works because now many people are doing it. Everyone's run to the internet and social media, leaving the door wide open. Sorry for the pun here, right? But it's a great way to build your list business too, because you could start to build your reputation as the go-to agent if they needed something on pricing in a neighborhood or some ideas. So less agents are doing it than you believe, and it's cost effective because the cost of printing a flyer is mere pennies, but a mailer may cost you about $1 per mail. Zillow leads are anywhere from $200 to $400. Actually, some of them are like $500, $600, $800 a piece. Facebook leads about $7 to $10. They're still, I'd say, reasonable budget wise, but it gives you a chance to be the local expert, control the price point again, because you can choose a neighborhood. Could it be your neighborhood, or you can choose a neighborhood you want to adopt? So if you're not a fan of cold calls, maybe building a relationship with door knocking is a way to do it. And you can always combo it up. But a lot of agents who've done to a high degree of success, if they're having an open house, that they'll use that as a conversation starter. They start small, they kind of build up their confidence. They're saying, okay, I'm holding 123 Main Street open this weekend. I'm going to choose 15 doors, five that way, and the five right across. I'm going to have a flyer. I'm going to say, hey, I'm Troy with First Class Real Estate. We are helping your neighbor at 123 Main Street sell their home. If we could sell it at a great price, obviously that's going to help you in the rest of the neighborhood. If you wanted to stop by, we'd love to know what your opinion is. Here's a flyer. By the way, you wouldn't happen to know anyone that was interested in selling anytime soon, would you? No, we're going to be here forever. Hey, I totally get it. This neighborhood's great. I wouldn't move either. But if you wanted a home value, I can certainly send that to you. But if you look, I have a QR code here on the flyer. You can actually just go to my site and get a free report. Have a great day. Hope to see you Saturday. So it took less than a minute, and you're going to build confidence on that. And that's how you ensure success on an open house. Because with an open house, it's not everyone happens to be a great open house, right? You'll have some where there's like, oh my God, 12 people showed up. I'd say the average is somewhere from about probably 5 to 7 people is an average open house. There'll be some where 0 or none showed up, but you can force a successful open house by engaging in the neighbors, inviting them in. So another door knocking for sellers list here. And on the supplement, the PDF that comes with this, we have example of this script as well, and a lot of the notes that I'm talking about. Many homeowners are curious about what their home is worth, or if it's the right time to sell. Have you considered making a move in the next year or so? No, we're going to be here for a couple more years. My son's in high school. We want to make sure that, we stay in that until he graduates. Hey, that's fine. How long have you lived here? Oh, we've been here about 6 years. You'd probably be surprised how much your home value has grown, and the stuff on Zillow is not really accurate. So I'd love to provide a free home analysis and show you what similar homes have sold for. Would you be open to a quick chat next week? No, that's okay. I mean, we don't have any plans of selling anytime soon. Hey, I totally understand. But what I love to do, because I do want to be a value to the neighborhood, what I could do is I could either send you my monthly market update via email, and I don't need the great email. Give me that other one that you give for Target coupons and stuff like that. And I could send it to that monthly. I don't know. Well, hey, that's right. I don't want to be pushy, but what I could do is mail you your home value, and then it'll have my information. If things change, let me know. Right. So I kind of pushed a few levels there through no's, but there are ways that you can, even without an open house, become the market educator within a neighborhood. So this again is virtually free lead generation. That there are some agents where you're wondering, how did they get that listing in that neighborhood? And that's how they got it. And it may be $1 million home, and you're wondering, how did they do that? They probably just knocked on the door. So a lead gen system, right? So one would be either you pay for leads or you are receiving team leads. And anybody who is with First Class has Bold Trail, a client relationship management system. You can simply find a listing, and if you paid about $60, you can promote that in what's called a property boost, and you'll get anywhere from 7 to 12 leads. And there'll be some who are interested right now, some who won't be interested, and then some to follow up with. And you can follow up with a lot of the automated systems that are in the client relationship management system. When you hear a lot of real estate talk about tech, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about a client relationship management system known as a CRM, and some of the automation that is in there to make your life easier so somebody can receive homes or maybe some sort of market update or some other marketing activity. And those leads can turn into great ROI, return on investment. You pay $60 for a property boost in Bold Trail, and even if one client bought a $300,000 house, that's $9,000 potentially in gross commission income. That's great ROI. So and it just helps you have people in your pipeline with a minimal investment. So it doesn't matter if it's pay leads or team leads. Where are they coming from? Well, mostly the internet. And it could be signs. They might have called the number on the sign or hit a QR code. Social media, certainly. And there's a lot of paid social media ads that will drive leads into a lead driven system. Google searches, you might have heard of SEO, pay per click, AdWords. There are people who have a budget where they're paying for those searching on the internet to turn into leads. So there's some tech processes behind that. But one thing you have to remember with leads is that you're always open for business. That's not necessarily a total negative thing, but you do have to be responsive because you never know when someone's going to reach out. They're not going to reach out just Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. It could be on a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. It could be on a Sunday at 7 in the morning, right? We've gotten leads at 2 o'clock in the morning before. So you want to be responsive because speed to lead matters. Conversion leads drop 75% after the first 10 minutes. So what does all that mean? Well, speed of lead means if you got some sort of inquiry of a lead that you want to respond to it in 5 minutes or less. If not, the chance of turning that lead into an appointment drops down 75% because they have gone on to other things. It's just one of those statistical standards in real estate that hasn't changed. So the best time to call or text is right away, or we're going to have to spend a little more time chasing them down. We want to have a good conversation so that we understand their needs, understand their timeline. Are they qualified the buyer? Do we need to get them to a lender? And the whole goal is to have an appointment. All the marketing activities that we do, door knocking, pop-bys, sending mailers, answering lead calls, following up to nurture follow-up leads, calling for sale by owners, no matter what, we're all trying to get to an appointment. That's the number one goal. And from that appointment, have a good consultation to turn them into a client and ultimately into a contract. So with a lot of leads, though, follow-up is key. Those who are willing to follow up 5, 8 times, whether it's call, text, email, to create a client relationship. And the art of follow-up is something that you want to develop a skill on how much should I call, how often. No, you're not bothering anybody. You are simply keeping up with them so that when the time is right for them to buy or sell, that you are the one that has educated them that you care about their needs. So the investor, and this is a great opportunity, it doesn't matter if you were new or a relaunching agent, there are investors always looking for good opportunities, whether it's flipping a home, buying that as is home, that ugly home, I guess you can call it, remodeling it, turning it into a new listing. Some are looking for rentals and building up their portfolio. And then in our area, short-term rentals are pretty popular, although each locality has its own rules and regulations on what can be a short-term rental. So investors are looking for the deal on or off market. And you should be as well. You should always have your eyes open for opportunity in real estate. Knowing the numbers for your client and what most investors are looking for is important. You have to be educational or educated on what your client wants simply by asking the right questions. And as I say, if you find the deal, the investors will come. They will. So don't get stuck saying, I don't know many investors. Well, they're everywhere, and there are ways that you can ask to build investor relationships. But if you find a deal, somehow the investors will find you if you're letting people know about it. And then it's certainly exponential business because if someone buys a home with you to renovate, and that becomes a flip listing and a number of opportunities. So there's a lot here. How can I get started? What can I do? Well, the first thing I would do if you wanted to build a referral business is start to build a contact list, your database. Um, you need a group of people you are educating about what you do in real estate. So whether it's a CRM, which I'd highly suggest, or some will do it on a spreadsheet, all right? But here's the good news. If you do it on a spreadsheet, at least one day we'll be able to get that into the CRM and help you upload that. If it's handwritten on paper, that's going to be tough, right? So something electronic, please, for your own good. Who needs to know in your real estate, right? If you're sitting there trying to build a list, I always say start with a goal of 25 and then build it incrementally until you hit 50, and then keep building it incrementally until you have 100. Try to have a goal of 100 by the end of the year, but try to have 25 by tomorrow, right? Just sit down, look at your phone, look at your social media. Who needs to know you are in real estate? Remember, you have to educate them on your brand. They're not following you as closely as you think. Who have you recently met that turned into a real estate conversation? That's someone that needs to be in your database. Did you engage with anybody on social media? They need to be in your database and start building it. And then next, the whole goal is to set new appointments. As I mentioned, everything we did, all activity lead generation is to create appointments. So each day, if you're thinking, what should I do today? The answer is, I need to get an appointment. Okay, I need to get an appointment. Let's look at the ingredient list on that. How do I get an appointment? I need to lead generate, follow up, ask for referrals. Okay, how do I do that? Well, think of the go-to list of lead generation activities, whether it's connection calls, whether it's meeting somebody in person to connect, whether it is some sort of lead system you're on or buying leads, whether it's getting ready to do an open house this weekend, whether it's a targeted mailer, maybe you're going to do a video. Maybe you're going to ask a busy top producing agent, hey, do you have any buyers you're too busy for that I can work with so I can start to kind of cut my teeth in this business a bit, right? Do you want to look for sale by owners? What are sort of the referral opportunities that we talked about? So again, every day you're waking up as an agent, you're saying, I need an appointment. I am not in business unless I have an appointment. How can I get an appointment? Great. All activity of lead generation, follow up, and asking referrals will create those appointments. And I need to stay up to date with the leads because people management will be important. Because if I try to keep everybody top of mind, people will slip through the cracks. If I learn to use the tools of a client relationship management system like Bold Trail, that if I met somebody at an open house and they wrote down their name on a piece of paper, that I can get it from the piece of paper into Bold Trail, the CRM, and then use the automation. There's automation where there's a follow-up plan where I can click a button and the machine is going to follow up with them for the next 3 months. And then certainly I would want to follow up and learn more follow-up techniques. So not all interactions will bring immediate results. So learning how to follow up is going to be crucial. And that's the difference with a lot of agents. Most agents will have one interaction. Those willing to have 5 to 8 interactions get more business. So work on your scripts, work on your conversations. It is a people-oriented communication business. You are as good as your conversations and your consistency. You are as good as your conversations and consistency. So if you work on your consistency with a routine that you've put down in a calendar or a schedule, if you work on your conversations and constantly evolving, and adapting to the conversations you're having based on the type of lead generation you're doing, right? Because there's a conversation with a for sale by owner, and there's a conversation with a referral I'm trying to get from somebody I've known for years as we sit down and have coffee. And each day, lead generate, follow up, and ask for referrals to create appointments. And that is a simple 1 sentence business plan in order to keep you in business. That's about 80% of your job. So these 4 sessions of relaunching or new agents, we talked about being a professional, then lead generation fuels your business. Coming next is the transaction process. And you may be thinking, okay, well, I'm in real estate. If I have somebody under contract, how do I get that all the way to the closing table? And we'll talk about that. What's it like once you have somebody under contract, and how are you of value to get them to the closing table? And then also making offers. Where do we find a contract? What am I writing on this? How do I even begin making an offer on a home?